Hi there, my name is Whitney and I wanted to make a video today because, a couple of things were brought to my attention and they were not great. They're not great things. So today I thought I would go ahead and point out other people's problems to make myself feel better. Strap in because we have a lot to cover. And yeah, it's not great. And it is a problem and somebody needs to say something, so I guess I will. And I'm glad to because, there's been a lot of injustice and it cannot go on without being checked. And so, before we get right into it, let's go ahead and do a little bit of a backstory because it's a pretty aggressive start. But it is warranted. So, we'll just go into a little bit of my own personal backstory. I grew up in West Virginia, and it is a wild and wonderful place, but it's pretty, well, it's beautiful, and the people are beautiful. There's not a lot to do. There's not too many, I'm from Charleston, and it used to be more of a popular town, but by the time that I got to the age where it was like everybody go and do their career, nobody stayed in town. And if you did, it was for something with oil and gas, or maybe your family owned a business, and or practice. And if you weren't going to do one of those very few things, well, then you're going to have to move. And so I did move. I started modeling at 17 years old. And it was a really, really nice experience. Completely something that I remember just going through stores and looking at people's pictures, and I always wondered, how did they get that person in that picture? Where did they find them? Well, I found out. And I was able to do a lot of different stores. Like JCPenney's. And then I found out how you do that. And yeah, it was fun. It was a really good experience. But there were a lot of not great experiences in my life. It was actually pretty much, it's pretty chaotic to say the least. And that's not to not sound grateful. I'm very grateful for my family. They're wonderful people, but just like anybody else or people, we have problems. We pretend we don't. We hope nobody finds out, but if you don't deal with them, you don't address them, everybody knows, but you're just denying it, or you just don't know what to do about it, so it's better just but with modeling, I was like, wow, I don't even know what this is, but yes. It sounds fun, especially straight out of high school. I'm like, I'm gonna do that. I have no idea of anything else. So, sure, sounds great. I have no idea how that's gonna go, but here we go. And it went really well, and I was really grateful for it. Unfortunately, right as I was starting to get pretty good in my career, my mom was diagnosed with leukemia, and she was given 6 months to live. And she was such a strong person because she never lost any of her shine, not even for 1 second. You wouldn't have been able to really know, like, well, other than the fact with no hair, obvious things that are kind of telltale signs of what's going on. But yeah, I ended up losing her when I was just turning 19 years old. And that was really tough. It was worst day, well, yeah, worst day of my life. It was really sad. She was my best friend. And I miss her very much, but I know that I'll see her again. So, yeah, that was just something that I went through, but you know, that's not a unique story, sadly. A lot of us have either personally been affected or known someone who did suffer from cancer, and either they won that battle or maybe they didn't. Then I moved to Los Angeles because I was like already, like when I was in Miami, kind of getting recruited to try my hand at movies and just doing acting, and I was like, I'm not good at that. I just know I'm not good at that, because usually if I'm good at something, I'm at least kind of good. Like I know that I can like have a shot. No, like I know I can't, like I'm not good at it. I can learn, I can try. It might take a while. If God wants me to do it, that is going to be the only way. If God says, okay, you can do this now, then that's how that'll be. Or it's going to be a montage of trying to just suffer through that experience of trying to teach me and me trying, and yeah, that's a lot. But I was like looking for a different environment, and I saw it as, okay, I am going to go out there and do modeling like I've done before, and if you know those things start to come up, I'll be able to take classes, maybe slowly transition. I don't know, ideas. We make plans and God laughs. But yeah, but those were my plans, or it sounded realistic, possible. I met some really amazing people, and they were just wonderful to me. And so it already felt like, wow, this place is great. Pretty soon into that, which didn't have the same traction that Miami did, but I was like, well, it's different. And, you know, just getting my feet wet, and I'm really enjoying the people I'm around. So I'm going to be grateful for every bit of whatever's going on. But pretty soon into that, my older brother, who was in dental school at the time, which he and I talked, you know, here and there, normal brother, sister, like, hi, yeah, love you, okay, good to talk to you, yep, hope you're doing good. He called me and he was bawling his eyes out, and I was already like immediately alarmed, because he was not an overly emotional person like myself. You know, complete opposite, very even keeled. I really never seen him like hit any strong emotions on any in either direction. He was pretty solid. So I was so alarmed, and I could just tell that he was not okay. And he was like, Whitney, I just need to talk to you. And I can't do this, you know, stuff to that effect. And what I thought was just a very alarming phone call turned into him calling me every single day for 6 to 7 hours on the phone, and I would just talk to him. And I didn't mind that. I'd rather do that than anything else. If my brother needs me, of course I'm gonna pick up the phone and talk to him, and like there's nothing more important to me than that. In that moment, like, I'm gonna make sure you're okay. That was looked at as a little bit of a negative, like I was possibly trying to derail something. And I was like, no, I'm sorry, I do not care. I don't care if my brother calls me and he is feeling unwell and he is feeling, this badly in whatever way that has brought him to this point, and this is what's happening. I'm always gonna answer the phone. I'm always gonna answer that call. Don't try to stop me. I don't care what you say. I don't care who you are. I'm so serious. Like, you try to cut off my phone, I'll just go to the store. If I have to go to Ralph's every day, I'll be like, hey, try to make friends with, I don't know, maybe I'll get a job there, and then just whatever. However, you get it. Because yeah, my brother needs me, I'm gonna answer that call every time. So this was a really long, boomerang, but it's gonna circle back. I've noticed that there is a call for people who are actually in a really bad state, really, really not well. And I myself am a Christian, not because like that is just how I was raised in the Bible Belt, but glory to God for that, because I was able to be taken into church as a baby. And yeah, about 10 to 12 years old, life really was like, and that was pretty much the last time I was in church regularly, well, ever since then. So my relationship with God was very personal. It was very much relationship. And anytime I was in a bad place, he was like, if I don't help this girl, she is literally not gonna make it. And it was true. I was like, yeah. Especially just running off down my name, like, see ya, like, and just honestly, people were like, I do not know how this girl is okay. Like, she's running off the club, she's doing that, she's doing that, she's doing that, she's doing that. But she is fine. And I was like, I know, it's great. No, it's pretty stupid, but it's pretty immature. But like, I was like, gonna look after me, which I appreciate that. But I would pretty much get out of the bad situation and jump straight back into the fire. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna call you Israel for that, because every time you cry out to me, and I always come through for you. You say, well, I feel better now, I'm gonna go do this. He's like, hey, no, don't. And I'm like, eh. And then I'm like back down in the pit, crying. Consequences. It's like, well, it's like it didn't have to go that way, and it's not his fault. That's the same thing as thinking like your parents are being really mean to you because they want you to brush your teeth. And you're like, I don't like that, so I'm not gonna do that. And I'm just not going to. Like, your teeth are gonna rot out. And they're like, It's like, they're not being mean to you. They're like, no, that's just what happens. But I didn't get that. So I was just like, but why can't I just do whatever I want all the time? When, if I'm not hurting anybody, why not? I just want to have fun with my friends. And that's about, I don't know. And I'm like doing what I'm supposed to according to whatever's going on at that time that I think makes sense to me. Anyways, so yeah, I finally learned my lesson, but throughout it, I know God saw my heart. God always saw that I was like, oh wow, I'm so sorry. Please help me. I do need help. And it was like or I don't know what else to do. Not like even like, and we're gonna help you stop drinking or whatever. It was just like okay, we gotta get you back up off the floor type of thing. But yeah, so I was out here. That happened with my brother, which, I mean, again, was never going to not do that. But then my grandmother, who was living alone at the time, started to have seizures because older age, and I just lost my grandfather a couple years prior to that, and she refused to live anywhere else. But I was like, and my mom was gone, my grandfather was gone, my brother was in dental school hanging on, and I was already like, like, I can tell my family needs me. This isn't really working. I'm just gonna go and take care of that. And no, I wasn't exactly like, here we go. I was like, okay, this is what we're doing. Because this is what my family needs me. So, back to the call. I noticed there was some serious injustice going on in Syria. I was really busy thinking recently about problems in my own life, feeling sorry for myself, like, oh, why did that happen? Why did this have to happen like that? And why were they so mean? Whatever. It's just something that's like irrelevant. Like, what? And then I really feel that God like led me to see the situation going on there. And I immediately felt like I cannot imagine feeling the way I felt, so down, and being like, oh, doom despair. And then going and telling these people who it's not just Christians, it's all whites, it's more than just this, it's evil versus people who just want to have their own life and live in peace and have their humanity and not bothering anybody, just living in their homes. And that is just not okay with a certain group, and it's wickedness. They are busting into their homes, taking them out in the streets, having them get down and bark like dogs, kicking their teeth in, killing them, point blank. And I thought to myself, I cannot imagine going to one of those people when I'm talking about, oh, I've just been praying because I had I can't believe like this happened to me, blah 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 blah. And then that was just, how could that happen to me? Whatever. And how could they say this about me, or how could that happen? And then saying that to one of them, and they're like, oh, so they're just like saying like bad stuff about you. Well, I mean, why do you care? Just don't listen. But while you're praying, please, could you pray for my family, because they took my mom from my home earlier and we don't know where she went. And like that just mental image of just playing out that conversation, I was like, oh, the shame I felt. I was like, oh, now that's a problem. I'm being pathetic. Because wow, get over yourself. So what if somebody was like not very nice to you? They don't need to be. And you know what? heed the warning. If you feel like if you know that God is telling you, maybe not that, and you're like, I'm just gonna do it anyway. Yeah, then that's what happens. That's consequences. Yeah, that's gonna hurt your feelings. Yeah, that was really mean. Whatever. That was really mean. You know, that is nothing compared to that. And that immediately took my mind completely off of anything other than that. And the one thing about my brother is that he was actually going through a really bad time in dental school because he was having seriously dark thoughts of suicide. I didn't know until about a year later, and he said, Whitney, if you hadn't answered the phone call during that time and talked to me, I would be 6 feet under. And I know I didn't tell you that, but I just wanted to thank you for saving my life. And I was just like, Parker, oh my gosh, I'm your sister. You do not have to thank me ever for that. That is what I'm here for. I'm always going, you call me, you don't have to have an emergency either. I might not talk to you that long if you're okay, but you don't have to ever thank me for that. That is what I'm supposed to do. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm here for. I'm your sister. Well, in 2019, the dark thoughts came back. My brother committed suicide. And I just felt like I wish I had had a warning. I could have saved you again. I didn't know it came back. I didn't know it was coming for you. I would have helped you. I would have helped you. I would have done anything. I would have stuck by your side. I've been like, I will just pester you with annoyance. You'll forget about anything else. You'll be like, she's so annoying. Oh, this is the new problem. And whatever I have to do, it's just, and you know, there was one night where I felt like he wanted to talk to me, but I was so concerned with going back to the apartment where my boyfriend and I lived at the time, because I just wanted to make pepperoni rolls. I just gotta do that. And I stopped by my dad's house that he was in at the time, and I was picking up some marinara sauce, and he was just sitting on the couch. And I could tell he wanted to talk. But I thought, I really gotta go. I have to go do this. Of course, I didn't know. But that was the night that he killed himself. My dad was the one that found him. And he was not okay, obviously, after that. I have no idea what he saw. That thought haunts me. I try not to think about it. But truly, when I say like, I had to immediately move back in with my dad, and for the better part of a year, I couldn't go over to a friend's house. I couldn't leave his side for more than a couple of hours because he really, really needed me. I would wake up to just the sounds of him bawling, and I would just hold him. And we had a thing where we would watch Friends. We say, let's see what our friends are doing, and it was just our thing. And even though it was a really dark time, it was the love and just the being there for the person that needs you that made it okay, you know. And I know that it's God's love, because in and of my own strength, I can't really get through the laundry. I'm not kidding you. Which is a weirdly humbling experience, and I found that out recently. I was like, no, but I should be able to do this. It's not even that much. And it was in and of your own strength. You can't. What if you can't? You've always been able to do that, but Today you can't. But then I started to lean into it and really focus in on that. And I'm so glad I did, because I was so busy, like, save me, that he was like, of course I will, but I want you to pay attention. And now look at this. These are your brothers and sisters. And they're calling, and they literally have seen videos that it breaks my heart, because they say, why does nobody care? Why won't anybody say anything? The media won't cover it. Nobody's saying anything. Can somebody please say something? Do they not care it's coming for us? Do they not care? Why does nobody care about us? We just want to live our own life. And immediately all I thought of was, that's the warning. That's the warning. That's the warning call that I wish I'd had from my brother. Of, it's coming back. Do you not care? It's coming for me. It's gonna get me if you don't pick up the phone. That didn't happen, but it did with this. And the thing is, this is not about a religion. If you've lost somebody to a suicide and you wished you just would have had one warning, because you would have been there for them like that. But if the only thing that would stop you from being there for them is, wait, sorry, did you say they go to church? Oh, who cares? That's a human life. And those are people who are just living in peace. And again, it's not just my brothers and sisters in Christ. It's a lot of different groups of people. Again, this is not about what's your religious gang sign. This isn't about a religion. This is about a call for crying people that need help. And so I really wanted to point out other people's problems to make myself feel better, because it really did help. Because all of a sudden, I stopped only thinking about, oh, poor me. And I said, oh, wow, let me focus on them. How can I help? And I had no idea. I know this was kind of a lot. But if this at all touched you and you're able to, I'll try to provide some links to foundations where the proceeds will go directly to these hurting people who literally are crying and saying, why does nobody care? Can somebody please help us? I don't know why nobody wants to talk about it. Can somebody please say something? And people are like, no. And I'm like, well, I don't really have a platform like that. In fact, this is my first video. But I knew I have to say something, because I don't really respond to, I don't go back and forth with people. If I feel like something happened, well, maybe my feelings are lying to me. I don't know, because people do things, I interpret it. I do things, people interpret it. And what if, I don't know. So I don't really respond to that. But I do have somebody who does speak for me. And she's actually really, really good at giving perfect responses to my personal problems. Darla, what do you think about the mean stuff that people say about us? Perfect response. Beautiful baby. That's exactly right. She's such a good girl. So that's not supposed to be that funny, but, and I'm sure it's not. But yeah, so I'm going to provide some links because there's just, this isn't even just sincere, but that's where I wanted to focus this video in on, is there is a massive issue that if you want to think about somebody else, it really does help to be like, oh wait, let me go focus in my efforts there, and no matter what, well, I'm never gonna do that actually. Let me correct myself, because this is the most important thing in my life. But yeah, like, this is about helping hurting people who just want to have their own life in peace. And if you can picture it as a warning call that you wish you would have got from somebody who you know that was a good person, who's in your family, maybe your best friend, your uncle, maybe your dad, your brother, maybe your cousin, maybe just a mentor, but they might as well have been your dad, your mom, whatever. Think of it as a warning to say, do not care, please help. And just for the love of humanity, really. I already know that you'll definitely be blessed for, if you can, 25 cents, or if you can, just sharing a word about it, talking to somebody, bringing attention to it. Bringing light into the dark places is how we can expose the things that need to be seen and that need to be talked about. Again, it's not that I have a platform. I've never really been into social media. It's like, rather just do artwork or whatever, paint an old pair of shoes and make them like hideous and never wear them, or maybe wear them and they're still hideous. But interior design, whatever. But this is so much more important, and I had to take a moment to do something that I felt was really, really important. I hope that this message is able to get the traction that it needs, or at least start a conversation that needs to be had. Thank you for listening to my a little bit disjointed story. I tried my best to keep it on track, so I hope it somehow made its way through. So, if you can, let's just point out other people's problems to remember maybe our problems aren't really that big. And that's not to diminish anybody's personal problems, because that's a slippery slope to say, oh, well, that's a problem, so I'm not. No. Of course it's a problem, but it really does help whenever you open up your eyes and say, oh, wow, okay, let me, instead of only focusing in on this thing that's really, really making me super unhappy in my life, let me go help. And I know I'm doing the right thing, and I know I'm doing a good thing for people who are begging for anybody who will just pick up the call and say, yeah, I actually do care. Like, here's $5, here's 25 cents. Here, I'll share it on whatever platform, whatever you can do. Or if you even just enjoyed this message, then thank you for watching, and have a very blessed evening. And yeah, let's make sure we pick up the call for the crying people who deserve to have their peace.